Elliott is one of those hilly city neighborhoods Pittsburgh is noted for. But in 1841, houses in the area, part of Chartiers Township, were described as country residences. It was named after 18th century entrepreneur Daniel Elliott, whose main enterprise was the Old Stone Tavern in the bordering St. Clair Township, which is thought to be the oldest commercial building in Pittsburgh, dating to 1782. He also owned sawmills, grist mills, built boats, and ran a ferry from the mouth of Sawmill Run Creek across the Ohio River to the North Shore. Elliott became an independent borough in 1892, and after approval by the city and the borough in 1904, it was officially annexed by the growing city of Pittsburgh on January 2nd, 1905. We'll begin our journey on Steuben Street, one of the main entrances to the Elliott neighborhood. Up until the late 1880s, this section of Steuben Street from here to Lorenz Avenue was known as Chestnut Street. Looking back across the tracks toward the Ohio River, here's some examples of the houses that lined Steuben Street and the back sides of them as well. Let's continue toward Elliott. Here we arrive at the Jerusalem Baptist Church, known as the German Evangelical Church when it was built in 1864. The empty lot where that garbage truck is sitting once housed the fire station of the number 10 engine company of the city of Pittsburgh. It was built in 1875. When it closed, it became a garage for the Department of Public Works. St. Martin Parish was established in 1869 to serve the German community of the area. This second church was built in 1888. It ended up having elementary school and a high school attached to it for many, many years. St. Martin Church closed in January of 1960 due to structural deficiencies, but disaster struck in April of that year when some kids in the choir loft set some hymn books on fire and cut the whole church on fire. The parish then built a new church across from Steuben Street in Crafton Heights. Guardian Angels was established in 1911 as a Polish parish and bought a building already used as a church a block away from St. Martin's. Steuben Street brings us to Chartiers Avenue, which goes through the heart of Elliott and eventually through the Sheraden and Wind Gap sections of the city. Furley Street leads back to a number of other hillside streets that were once home to a fairly densely populated neighborhood. Yours truly lived in this house behind the lamppost from 1958 to 1963. Here I am celebrating my first communion with my grandfather, uncle, and brother. At the top of Marlow, we arrive at the West End Overlook, known to longtime Elliott residents simply as the Bluff. The Bluff has a view of the city that was a hidden Elliott gem for many, many years. The city of Pittsburgh created an official park there in 1963, and now it's the site of weddings, graduations, and many other festivities. But let's go back down to Chartiers Avenue. We're going to come back to Lorenz Avenue here after we go down to the other end of Chartiers Avenue and take a look at the unofficial entrances to Elliott from Sheraden and Corliss. Turning left after passing Langley High School in Sheraden and crossing over the busway, Chartiers makes its way towards Elliott. In the same way, people on West Carson Street can come through the Corliss Tunnel and up Corliss Street where it meets Chartiers Avenue. As we turn toward Elliott on Chartiers Avenue, we can see how it looked in 1913 and again how it looked 20 years later in 1933. Did you know that Lakewood Street used to be known as Love Avenue? Bologna is one of the last remaining Belgian block streets that were all over Elliott before they paved them over with asphalt. Obviously, Elkton didn't get the Belgian block treatment. This is the view from the bicycle trail across the river. Some people say that these houses on Rue Grand View at the top of Lorenz Avenue are very ordinary looking from the front, but the view from the back is extraordinary. So why don't we head back down Lorenz Avenue? In its heyday, before the advent of megastores, Elliott was home to 2 pharmacies, a grocery store, 2 dairy stores, a movie theater, 2 butcher shops, a hardware store, bakeries, flower shops, doctors, dentists, and more, including a newspaper that served several local neighborhoods. Local elementary school students went to the Westlake School from 1895 to 1939. Then it housed a skating rink, a bowling alley, and a martial arts studio, among other things, until it was torn down in the 1990s. When Westlake School was closed in 1939, students began to go to the new Thaddeus Stevens School at the far end of Crucible Street. Across Lorenz Avenue from Thaddeus Stevens on the other side of Crucible was a bridge that will soon pass from memory. Private developers built it in the late 1800s when Elliott was still an independent borough, and the upper end of Crucible Street on the other side of the bridge was known as Woodland Boulevard. In 1922, the private developers asked the city of Pittsburgh to take ownership of the bridge and repair it, which they did in 1923, and again 40 years later in 1962. Eventually, it was thought better to just dismantle the bridge and build a road around it by filling in the top end of a large gully. Traveling carnivals would sometimes use the property above the gully for some summertime fun. So let's go back to the end of Lorenz Avenue where it meets up with Steuben Street. Steuben Street was the way people got to and from the western area of Allegheny County. It was once known as the Steubenville Turnpike, which is where it got its name, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But for now, we're going to turn left right here up onto Herschel Street. Herschel Street was once known as High Street. In 1932, a huge fire in an abandoned coal mine under Herschel Street buckled the road and endangered property all around it. People complained of not being able to sleep because of the gaseous odors coming from the burning coal. The heat of the fire caused Equitable Gas to move some of the gas lines above ground. It was eventually brought under control by digging 400-foot trenches to get to the fire to put it out. Today, the edge of Herschel baseball field is on part of the excavated mine. Now we'll go back to Steuben Street. The Better Made donut shop around this bend opened in 1948 as the Evergood Donut Shop, and there have always been long lines there for the best donuts in the city of Pittsburgh. Obie Street connected the Steubenville Turnpike with the Noblestown Plank Road at the bottom of the hill. But the most interesting thing about this location is the Obie House Tavern, which opened for business in 1823. Built by John D. Obie as the Obie Inn, it could be compared to a suburban hotel. It was once the stopping place for many a weary traveler on horseback and wagon going west, as well as drovers with great herds of cattle and other livestock. It still entertains customers today. These pictures from 1924 show that the brick street was already well used through the years and document when water and sewer lines were added. From here, we'll go up Obie Street from Middletown Road. And finally, one other way to get to Steuben Street in Elliott was via Middletown Road. In the late 50s and throughout the 1960s, Middletown Road between Berry Street and Steuben was arguably one of the worst roads in Allegheny County. That's because the road was evenly divided between Ingram Borough and the city of Pittsburgh, and they couldn't agree on who was going to fix it. They finally worked it out, and in 1970 took the whole thing down to dirt and built a new cement road from scratch. Of course, it's covered with asphalt now. And lastly, here's a look at Justine Street from that same City Acres neighborhood. These newspaper article pictures were taken near Vinton Street. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this journey back in time. You can see more videos like this on the Time Travel with Tim channel on YouTube.